Before you buy your Louise Carmen, let's talk about it. It's 1 a.m. and why am I awake? Because I'm a night owl and I'm always awake at times I shouldn't be. But you know what? It is what it is. And I thought that we could have a little chat. So I'm in my pajamas, I'm in my bonnet, and I've been thinking about making this video for a while, but I've been a bit worried about making it because I feel like anytime something gets popular on TikTok specifically, anyone who says anything about it gets such a mass amount of hate to the point where it just feels over the top. And this video isn't me critiquing Louise Carmen. It's not me saying anything about any person in particular. And it's not even me saying that buying from Louise Carmen is bad. And especially now, there's like this ideology that every time someone critiques a hobby on TikTok or YouTube or any other social media platform, that you're trying to ruin people's fun or let people enjoy things and mind your business. And yeah, obviously, like let people enjoy things, which is fine, but I just feel like at some point people are allowed to not agree with what you're doing. Do you know how many comments I get a day on TikTok of people like being mean to me about my journals? I mean, it's kind of weird. Like really weird. Like to the point where I'm like, dude, you sound like you want to dox me about bounded paper. Like that is how intense some of my comments get. At the end of the day, people can have different opinions. People can dislike what you're doing and, have an opinion about it. It doesn't have to be an attack. It doesn't mean that you need to get defensive about it. If you're happy with whatever you're doing with what you've bought, then there really should be no reason for you to get upset by someone critiquing what you're getting. But, it is what it is. A hit dog will holler every time. So there's nothing you can do about that. Because this video isn't me telling you not to buy Louise Carmen. It's me telling you that if you aren't someone who's journaled a lot, then you need to do way more research than just seeing a couple of viral videos on TikTok and deciding that you need a Louise Carmen cover. Because while string systems work really well for some people, they may not work well for others. And I'm not doing this to ruin anyone's fun. I genuinely want you to love journaling, to be able to use it as a hobby for a very long time. But you won't do that by buying a $200 cover in the beginning of your journey in this hobby. So, I'm going to give you pros and cons to the string system just for you to, have a good idea about how the string system works and if it works out for you, because you may be able to spot some things in this video that you may not like or you may consider, a different maker. Like maybe you were leaning towards Traveler's Company, but now after this video, maybe you lean towards getting something from Etsy, or maybe you lean towards making it yourself. So I want to start by saying that I don't have any beef with Louise Carmen at all. Like none at all. I don't think anything bad of them. I've never had a bad experience with them because I've never bought anything from them. The next thing I want to say is I don't agree with starting off with such an expensive cover, journal, whatever, as your starting point. Now, can you do that? Absolutely, because you have free will. You are allowed to do whatever the hell you want to do. But all I'm saying is sometimes it's better to start small. And I just think when you're starting off any hobby, it's easier to start small because you don't even know if you're going to enjoy it. You don't know if you're going to stick to it. And you may down the line realize that this really isn't for you, or maybe the string system isn't for you, and you still like journaling, but you'd rather do it in something else, and which is totally fine. But at the very least, if you, buy a cheaper one from Etsy or make one yourself, then you wouldn't have spent $200 plus on a cover that you now have nothing to do with. Now, of course, you can regift it or something or use it for something else, I guess, but chances are if you get tired of it and you don't want to use it, it's either going to go to Goodwill, it's going to go in the trash, it's going to go in a tub in your basement or something, or in your attic, and you're not going to think about it again. Because at the end of the day, it's just a cover, and I don't think a lot of people are really connecting that. Like Louise Carmen does have inserts for their covers, but what everyone is going to go get is the cover, and the cover is just to protect what you put inside. So you still, you can either buy the Louise Carmen inserts or you can buy Traveler's Company inserts. You can get inserts on Etsy. You can make them yourself. I make mine myself for my B6 cover, and they're not necessarily, in my opinion, that special. Like, I think they're cute, but I think what makes them cute really isn't Louise Carmen. I think what makes them cute is how people are decorating them. Like, that is what's pretty. Now the trifold, gorgeous. I love it, it's beautiful. but but you can get a trifold from Etsy and other leather shops that are really nice. You can make it your own, and you don't have to spend $200 on it. But I just think that there's nothing in particular about the Louise Carmen. But it does correlate with social media. I know people get so upset when you say, well, this is just kind of a trend, but it is a trend. And here's the thing, I have done collaborations with brands, I've done sponsorships with brands, and every single one of them has asked me to do some type of influencer marketing where you tell everyone that you need this product. Like, they'll use that over and over and over again. They'll either say you needed it or that they themselves needed it. They'll start the conversation off with, I needed this journal because I saw it all over my timeline and it just looks so beautiful. It's so pretty. It matches my phone, it matches my bed set. And they're just like giving you all these reasons as to why you need this one specific thing, and they're decorating it and they're walking around with it in their hand and they're wearing these cute outfits and they look like they have their lives put together, all because of this one product. Again, this is not a problem of Louise Carmen. I'm not critiquing Louise Carmen. I'm critiquing how we as a society are as consumers. 'Cause I have fallen victim to that way too many times. If you have been here for a while, I fell victim to rings system. Now, girl, I don't like rings. I don't. And I went and bought a ring system about 6 months ago. Just wasting money. Just wasting my time and money, y'all. But for the same reason, I saw all these cute filofaxes. I saw all these cute ring systems, how they're decorating it, how it just seems like everything worked out so perfectly in this system. And I was like, that is it. I cracked the code. Have y'all seen that? I know y'all seen that TikTok. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know. But I cracked the code. All I need is this one thing, and all of a sudden my planning needs are going to be perfect. My journaling needs are going to be perfect. And what happened? I got it. I used it for maybe a week or two, and then I realized I actually hate this. I don't like rings. It's not for me, but I got it because I was influenced. And then the thing is, these things kind of creep onto your For You page. They creep onto your timeline on social media. One minute you're seeing Loistrom all the time, or you're seeing Moleskin all the time. And then when that kind of goes away, when people are done with whatever that is, the next thing comes and you see how chic Louise Carmen looks. And even the name is kind of chic. You know what I mean? Like, Louise Carmen sounds luxury. It sounds like you're doing something or getting something that is quantifying you with this life of luxury. I even seen people like put it in their bags and their whole aesthetic with the Louise Carmen, and I'm just like, you know what? Dang, am I being influenced right now to buy Louise Carmen? Because I mean, I'm not, but do I need to? Because you look good. And that Louise Carmen is given light academia. You see what I mean? Like, you see how easy it is to just randomly like see a video and go, I do need it. You're right. I need it. I need that. And I think another part of it, especially with people who aren't super into journaling, is that it becomes kind of like a fashion statement. The same way, I have my little, I am picking up all these, but I have my little blind box babies over here. The same thing with these. They become a fashion statement. You're putting the May on your bag. You're putting the, I don't know, baby 3 on your bag, on your backpack. They're around your room, and it feels like you're a part of this social gathering, almost like you're a part of something that everyone else is doing, is basically what I'm trying to say. And I talk about this a lot, and I feel like a lot of people, I'm saying this generation, but I don't just mean in one particular generation. I mean millennials, I mean Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Gen X, I mean all of us as a society. We have this fear of missing out so hard that when something gets popular on social media, we want to be a part of it. Look at the barista cup or the barista cup, whatever it's called. One minute you're boycotting Starbucks, and the next minute it's like, but I want this cup. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with wanting to be a part of whatever is big at the time, because let's be honest, that's not a new thing to want to follow what's going on in society or what society is telling you is the fashion statement, is this year's new this new that, or that you need this, because it's all a part of influencer marketing. And it doesn't make you stupid, it doesn't make you dumb, it doesn't make you unintelligent, it doesn't mean you lack literacy, it doesn't mean any of those things. But I also think that sometimes the word overconsumption does get used quite too often, and sometimes people use it incorrectly. Overconsumption is not you buying the Louise Carmen and you using the Louise Carmen. That is not overconsumption. Overconsumption is buying the Louise Carmen and then buying more journals, buying more covers again and again and again and again. And you're in this endless cycle of never really finishing anything, but you're continuously starting something new, and you're buying something new over and over and over and over again because you're chasing this high of that new thing that you needed. Because once you got it, once you have it, if it is the fear of missing out and it's not necessarily that you really, really are going to attach yourself to this hobby, then you're going to keep on chasing that high. You're going to keep on chasing wanting to feel how you felt when you made that purchase, when you waited for that box to come get to you. And I try my best not to, at least on my channel, promote too much consumption, because I just don't think it's necessary, and that's just not how I was raised. But I also don't think anything is wrong with people buying things and liking things and wanting to collect things, because you can be a collector but not into overconsumption. You know what I mean? Like, if you're collecting things and you're actually using them, then that's not overconsumption. But if you're collecting things and then when that phase of your collection is over, you throw them out, you give them away, and you're not using them and they're just going to end up in the trash, then that is overconsumption. Then you are just kind of chasing this high, this, you know, rush of dopamine just to make yourself feel good at that point, because the addiction of buying and buying and buying and buying feels really good. But at the end of the day, what ends up happening is what's going to happen to Louise Carmen. You're seeing such an influx in the last year of everyone getting it, and then it's going to peter out. And then you're going to start seeing people say, being like, oh, when everybody was like super crazed over, like, the Louise Carmen, and that is what's going to happen. You're going to start seeing influencers, big influencers, small influencers, talk about how people used to be really big into Louise Carmen. I just saw a video about someone talking about how people don't talk about Labubus anymore, and in actuality, yes, they do. People who genuinely are collectors of blind boxes of all kinds were collecting Labubus before they came to TikTok. They were collecting BB3s before TikTok. Those things still exist and they're still popular. It's just the trend of it on TikTok has ended. So at some point, Louise Carmen is going to fizzle out on TikTok. And the people who like to journal, who continue to journal, who still like Louise Carmen, will still buy from them, because they do have an already established fan base who love to buy them and buy them periodically and use their covers periodically. But you will start to cease to see them on your timeline for sure. So don't feel bad if you do fall for that. There are so many things I fall for when it comes to buying stuff on social media. I have to watch the influencing videos so much, y'all. So don't beat yourself up and don't be rude, because I genuinely don't think anything's wrong with buying Louise Carmen's if you actually use it and it's something you really enjoy. This video is just to de-influence people who might be trying to start off a hobby that they're not used to. And again, can you start a hobby with something expensive? Yes. Would I? No. Okay, now let's get into the pros and cons of the string system. This is not just about Louise Carmen. This is about strings in a general sense. So whether you're like me and you get a strings cover from Etsy, or you do Traveler's Company, which I also own, you get them from Amazon, you make them yourself. These are some pros and cons of strings. So we're gonna start off with pros, and the first one is that it is super customizable. One thing I love about covers with strings is that you can put so many things inside. You can have so many different type of books. If you want your moleskin in there, you can put your moleskin in there. If you want your Leuchtturm in there, you can put your Leuchtturm in there. You can put your life book in there. You can do whatever the case may be, and depending on the size you get, you can put different sizes inside. So if you get an A5 string system, you can get all types of sizes to put inside. You can have an A5 book inside, you can have an A6, you can have a B6 because A5s are pretty big. So you can have a bunch of different ones in there. And then you also can have a whole system in this one place. Like my string system has multiple things in here. I have a video of everything inside. So if you want to go watch that, you definitely can. I'll leave it linked below if I remember, because I always say I'm going to do that and then I never remember. But in here, I have pretty much almost my whole journal system, and it's beautiful. It's amazing. It means I don't have to pick and choose what I want to bring out with me when I go out, which is chef's kiss. This one is a big one for me, and that is it is easy to install and uninstall inserts. It is the easiest thing. I feel like sometimes it looks a little wonky when you're trying to get used to it in the beginning, but it's honestly so easy. There's so many videos on how to do it and how to fit a bunch of your journals into one little cover. And I don't have that many in here right now because I don't necessarily like them too big because I don't want my purse being weighed down when I go out, y'all. I can't take that. So I think I have three in here right now, and they're relatively thinner inserts. But I love that you can insert however many really, and the covers they hold a lot. So this is something else that's really great is that if you get a strings cover and it's made really well, they can last a long time and you might find that they are cost effective. So for example, if this one that I got, I'm pretty sure I got this from Ukraine, if this lasts long, I don't have to buy another cover for a very long time because I can just take out the inserts, archive them, and continue to use this cover unless, I just decide I want a different color or something. But as of right now, I don't have any intentions of getting another one because I just got this one. But this is a B6 and it's the perfect size for me. All I have to do is add my books, and when I'm done with my books, I'll archive them and put new ones in and keep it pushing, and this will stay with me for however long it lasts. It's made pretty well, and I'll leave a link to this one as well if you guys want to buy it. I do not get any money if you click the link, just to let you know. So I kind of touched on this, but that the thickness is flexible. So if you want to be like me and you want kind of like a medium sized thickness, you don't want it too thick, but you don't want it too small, you can have it, a medium sized thickness, or you can have them like really, really thick and chunky with a bunch of books inside, or you can do it the way Hobonichi's covers typically are, where you can do maybe one or two covers where it's not like a bunch of them. Now, granted, can you add more to Hobonichi covers? Absolutely, but Hobonichi covers typically they have like little pockets that you put your notebook in. If that does that make sense? Basically, it's flexible, and if you want to put one in there, you can put one. If you want to put six in there, typically you can put six. Okay, now we're gonna go to some cons for the strings. And I've been using strings for years. I started off with Traveler's Company, and I love the Traveler's Company ones, but I stopped buying them because I didn't want a standard size anymore and I wanted a B6. This is probably my least favorite thing in the world about them is that the inserts can shift. And when I tell you they will shift because of the elastics, they will shift because of the elastics. This gets a little bit annoying when you're trying to either keep it in place when you're writing or, just in a general sense. Like if you look, it's a bit flimsy a little bit. Oops, why did I do that? It's a bit flimsy and they'll like move around. You can kind of see that they're not lined up anymore because the elastics move around. All my prayer cards just fell out. And I noticed that when I write, this happens a lot too because the elastics are made to be moved around and kind of hold a bunch of books. So if you have a bunch of elastics and they're holding a bunch of books, all that moving, it gets annoying. I'm not gonna lie. This will depend on the maker, but depending on where the knot is that keeps the string together, it can be very bothersome. If you have one that's like dead in the middle and the knot is too big, like I've seen that be something that people with Louise Carmen say is that the knot in the back kind of can be too big sometimes, and that makes it a little complicated to write in the center. I've never had that problem because mine are relatively small, like the knots in here are relatively small, and I also always take out whatever insert I'm using when I'm about to use it. So I don't actually write when they're in here because it's annoying. So as much as you can add quite a few things into these, there is a limit because if it gets a bit too big, it will get hard to close. That's also why some people try to only do trifolds, because it being a trifold makes it a bit easier because it has that extra flap to just cover. But mine is not a trifold. So if you have one cover that's just like this and it just closes, then that will get annoying. And you'll also see that, I don't know if I can show you like here, but when it gets bulky, when you don't have a trifold, this is what it ends up looking like. So pretend mine was really, really like chunky. This wouldn't close all the way and it would be like kind of pushed out a little bit, which I've seen a lot of people say is really, really agitating. I think I've gotten used to a lot of these cons. So it's not like you can't get used to them. You absolutely can. It's just, it may be something that's, a deal breaker for you. So the next one is something that I have a problem with, which is why I always take it out to write. And that is that it is almost impossible to lay flat unless it is the only journal inside. So if you have a one journal system and you only have one thing in your cover, then obviously it can lay flat. But if you have multiple journals in your cover, then you're gonna have to either write awkward and like have one half higher than the other half, or you have to do what I do and take it out and write outside of the cover. I don't think either one is particularly that bad. I find that if it's not flat, it kind of is hard for me to write, so I always take them out. But some people don't have that problem and don't care about it, so that just depends on the person. All the charms can start making it increasingly annoying to do anything. So I don't know if you guys can see, but I have quite a few charms on the front. And when I tell you, it is a pain in the buttocks to open and close this thing, because not only do I have the charms, but I also have some ribbon on the edges to bow it, and it's cute. And then other times I'm like, it's not cute enough for my sanity. I'm taking all this off. And then I say no because I like it. And I just have to annoy myself because the charms get annoying and they can sometimes get in the way of writing if they're inside. So keep that in mind when you're buying charms. This is another thing that I've seen people complain about, and it's that when it comes to strings, depending on the size of your cover will depend on how easy it is to find inserts. Now, you can always find third-party inserts on Etsy or other small businesses, but if you want something that is, super specific, that gets a bit hard. Like let's say you want grid paper, but you want this certain GSM with this many pages and you want the color to be this color for the pages. Sometimes that does get a little tricky because I do feel like outside of Traveler's Company, all the other inserts for string systems can vary in color, GSM, grid, which I mean is true for all journals, but typically when you're buying a bounded journal, you know what you're going to get. Like, the dingbats are that awful yellow color. You know that moleskin has like an off cream color. You know what I mean? So you know what you're going to get with those. But when it comes to strings, you do kind of have to pick and choose inserts, and you have to figure out how inserts work in your system, what you like, what you don't like. Most people I see that have covers tend to have different type of inserts inside. Like I have one from Dollar Tree, I have two I made, but then I've also gotten some from Traveler's Company. I've gotten some from, I want to say Muji, no, Midori. I've had some from Midori, and honestly, the great part is you can put whatever in there. It's just the sizing and what you may want for an insert can get a little wonky sometimes. I will say, except when you have a bigger one. When you have a bigger cover, like an A5 or an A4, I feel like those are easier because then you can literally put any size inside and not have to worry about it. Like if you want the life book, which is a B6, then you can do it because the B6 is obviously smaller than the A5 and the A4. So that is when I think it doesn't really matter because you can fit anything in there. But when you get to the smaller sizes, that's when it starts getting annoying. Like the B6, I get people to ask me all the time where I get my inserts for the B6 because B6 is it's a little in between sizey, and that can be a little annoying. The next one is that it can get super expensive when you're accessorizing. Almost everything on my cover are things that either were given to me as gifts or things that I've had for a very long time. Now, there are things that I just unfortunately fell to consumerism for. but most of them are not, and they're just things that I picked up over time and I just added because they're cute or because they're sentimental. But charms can get very expensive, and you can really get caught up in the whole accessory thing and wanting it to look cute and, getting stuff for it to be decorated and everything. So in that aspect, I would still say just start small. Don't do anything too cuckoo. Like, maybe buy one or two charms, but don't buy like 20 charms to, because you think you're going to keep on changing charms every 2 weeks. Like, I highly doubt you'll end up doing that. Okay, so that was it for my pros and cons. I just really made this video because I like to help people get into journaling and help them with journaling. I don't want you to start journaling and then, you get upset with yourself for going in too quick or going in too expensive. This isn't to stop you from buying Louise Carmen. It's not to stop you from buying anything or trying out anything, because I do believe you have to try on a bunch of different hats to figure out what you like. But I do think there is something really important about starting small with a new hobby. And that's why I said in the beginning, this is about people who are getting into journaling, not necessarily people who are so used to journaling and will keep journaling regardless. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me what you think about the whole Louise Carmen craze on social media right now. And yeah, again, do what you want, buy what you want. This is not the type of video. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. I'm hopefully just helping you think before you purchase, is basically what I'm saying, which is something that I have to do all the time. I'm actually going to go to bed because it's at 2 a.m. now, which means I've been recording for almost an hour, which means I have to edit this. Mm, mm, mm. Anywho, until next time, peace out, Girl Scouts.
'Cause I really hate you. 'Cause you made me so blue.